we have one more unit and then a little tour of West Virginia wetlands. So representative sampling. I'm sure you've run into the case where an applicant is putting in a larger project and may have 40 or 50 small wetlands that they're impacting, which may be very similar, or a restoration project where they're maybe restoring a stream, but I guess they usually take the buffer credits instead of the wetland credits. But anyway, there are large projects with a lot of small wetlands that sometimes come into play. And so for that, if there's a large project, we don't expect people to run 40 or 50 WVRAM assessments. You can use representative sampling. And the way it runs is that if you have wetlands greater than an acre in size, which aren't that common in West Virginia, then you do have to run a WVRAM on every wetland that is at least an acre in size. If you have a bunch of small wetlands, you can class them into sampling groups. And there is a handout here that looks like this with a picture at the bottom. I think some of you may have pulled it out, that shows the sampling groups for representative sampling. Yeah. So if you find that little handout, and then you'll see those sampling groups, what you would do is you do your wetland delineations of your however many wetlands. In this particular case, there were 37 wetlands. You run them through the GIS tool using just whatever codes you have, even if it's just PSS or PEM. And then you divide them into score groups. And this is the spreadsheet showing the wetland name, each of these small wetlands, how many acres it is. You can see many of them are very small. The preliminary GIS score, and they are grouped according, each color change is a different score group. And then within each score group, you sample 10% of the wetlands. So the way that would look is your applicant would submit a map showing all of the wetlands. In this case, there are 37 of them. And Sarah and Kylie actually sampled this site and did all of these as sort of a test run. I think it was a Corps of Engineer project, right? Yeah. Okay, so all the wetlands get delineated, run through the GIS tool. There were 4 wetlands on this site that were greater than 1 acre. They had to be field sampled. The 33 remaining wetlands were divided into sampling groups, as you have on the spreadsheet here. And 10% of each group was field sampled. So between the scores of 0.2 and 0.3, there was only 1 wetland. It was sampled, field sampled. From 0.3 to 0.4, there were 19 wetlands. So 2 field assessments were done. From 0.4 to 0.5, there were 10 wetlands. 1 field assessment was done. From 0.5 to 0.6, there were 2. So 1 of those was sampled. And from 0.6 to 0.7, there was 1, and it was sampled. And in that case, like for the 19 wetlands, you had 2 samples. You average those 2 samples, apply that score to the other 17 that weren't sampled. So that is how representative sampling works. It is a little complicated, but when you sit down and do it, then it all becomes clear how many assessments. So in this case, how many do we act? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Plus the 4 that were greater than an acre. There were still 10 assessments that had to be done. Thank you, Sarah and Kylie, for that 37 wetland site. But that was better than 37. And that was kind of a diverse site. Sometimes you'll have like a strip mine bench that has 25 little tiny wetlands that are pretty much all the same. They'll probably all score the same, and you could just do 3 assessments.